Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Peter Durant, State Representative from the 6th Worcester District, which is a little district just to the west of here, a couple of districts over. I want to welcome everybody tonight to this event for a great candidate. It's, you know, I am celebrating actually my 1-year anniversary in office. Whether or not you're aware, I was elected in, well, I was elected in November, but that's a whole different story. I ended up being re-elected in May of 2011 in a special election, which took place on May 10th. And you know, one of the funny things is when I was running for office, you know, you hear a lot of the stories about what happens on Beacon Hill about how the Democrats vote the way they're told, and they change votes how they're told, and they really don't know a lot about what's going on and the bills that are being taken up. And I used to think to myself, I thought, well, you know, that's all just, it's an exaggeration. That stuff doesn't really happen there. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight that, in fact, it does happen. All of the things that you actually hear about what goes on Beacon Hill, it really happens, which is why it's so important that we get more Republicans up on Beacon Hill. You know, but as we sit here in 2012, the economy hasn't gotten any better. Jobs haven't gotten that much better. In Massachusetts, they'll tell you, you know, things are going great. With 6.5% unemployment, life is good. And that's really the message that our Democratic friends are out there promoting. That life is good in Massachusetts. And but you know, those kinds of things don't resonate on the street. And as we in the Republican caucus talk, we want to keep our seats, but we know that this year we can make gains. And that's why we're here tonight, to support a great candidate like Rich, and he's going to need everybody's support. I'm going to introduce, where is she? Where is she? Oh, way over there. I'm going to introduce a very good friend of mine, a governor's counsel from the 7th district? Is that what it is? See, I got that right. From the 7th district, a governor's counsel, Jenny Caissie. Jenny is doing fantastic work up on Beacon Hill. She's out there advocating for you. She's taking it to the governor and making sure that he makes decent appointments. So I want to introduce my very good friend, Jenny Caissie.
It is a pleasure for me to be here with all of you. I am out of my district, which is hard to believe because of the 65 cities and towns that I represent as a member of the Governor's Council. But I'm here because of how impressed I am and have been with Richard Eustis. I met him in court one day. I'm an attorney as well in Worcester County. I practice throughout Worcester County, and we got to talking one day. He was not a candidate for state rep at the time, but we just talked casually. I was very impressed with him, the way he carried himself, the way he spoke. He seemed like a complete gentleman, and he believed what he was saying. Fast forward, we thought he was going to run against James McGovern, Congressman McGovern, which I thought he would have been a great candidate to do that as well. I heard him speak up in Leominster, and I was even more impressed by him. What he believes, his work ethic, his integrity, his vision for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And Richard is the man who will represent this district. I've read his background, his resume. I've spoken to people, other colleagues, other attorneys. You know, he's a fiscal conservative. He's a man who has served his country. He's a wonderful family man by all accounts. His family's here supporting him. And he knows his community. And he's not just running for state rep and saying, I want to do all these wonderful things. He's a person who's been involved in his town, whether it's in charitable organizations, whether it's been in government, volunteering his town. And if we look around, you pick up the newspaper, put the news on, what do we see? It's not just our financial economy in crisis. Really, it's not just that. It's our political economy in crisis. People don't trust their elected officials. There's a huge credibility gap right now, not just in, you know, even in our local governments, but more so, Peter touched upon it, on Beacon Hill and in Washington, D.C. And for the people of Massachusetts, one of the most important things we can do in this critical election coming up in November is to send good people to Boston. Not people who want to make a career out of being state representatives, but people who have had careers in the real world, in the military, in the private sector, volunteering, as prosecutors. And he's been all of those things. And he'll bring all of that experience, not because he wants a handout, not because he wants the best job he's ever had. I'm sure this is a pay cut for him. like most representatives, but because he wants to get up there and do a good job and fill that credibility gap, which is so important. And we need 54 people like him up on Beacon Hill, and it's up to us, the activists, to make a difference. You can't turn your backs on it and say, I don't like politics, I don't care about politics. Well, hey, politics is life. Politics is your pocketbook, so you better start caring and you better start paying attention. You got a person who's willing to step up, make huge sacrifices, as well as his family, financially, personally, his time. His health will probably take a hit when you pick up the newspaper and you think something goes horribly wrong, but then you realize it's not a big deal. He's going to step up, and he's going to do this because he wants to make a difference. And what everybody in this room needs to do is you need to put up a lawn sign, you need to write a letter to the editor, you need to write a check, and you need to do all those little things because they will add up. He's got 2 towns in his district, Medway and Franklin. You can win this race with good foot soldiers and people who are willing to make phone calls and write the letters and write the checks. You can do it. It's these people, all you folks in this room, you can win this race. But he can't do it alone. He needs your help. So I'm here to support him. I will do everything I can outside of the district to help him get elected. That's how strongly I feel that he will be a wonderful state representative for the 10th Norfolk District. I give you Richard Eustis, your next
Thank you, Representative Durant. Thank you, Jen. Humbled by those words. I was told I was put on a strict clock by Matt over there because between being a lawyer and now running for office, I could probably talk to you for about an hour and a half, and nobody would be left in the room by the time I was done other than my daughters because they need me to give them a ride home. So I'll try to keep it short. Let me start by saying I am honored to formally announce that I am running to be your state representative for the 10th Norfolk District. I stand here before you not as a career politician, but like most of you here, a private citizen. I stand here as the proud son of Don and Barbara Eustis. My mother continues to work as a nurse, as she has for more than 45 years. My father, who's in the back row, started a sales company basically by writing to companies that he would see in magazines when he was a kid because he couldn't get a job and asking them if he could sell their products door to door. Vivid memory growing up is starting every day by hearing my father's car start in the driveway before anybody else was even out of bed on his way to work every day. Never saw my father miss a single day of work. And proud to be their son. And my favorite story about my parents is one that they may not even remember. I love hearing stories about where they first started. My favorite story is when they were first courting. Does anybody say courting anymore these days? And my mom was in nursing school and my dad worked one of many jobs he had at the Marriott Hotel in Newton. They would meet at dinner on their breaks. And they had nothing, literally nothing. So they would each get a hot dog and they would split a Coke for dinner every night. And that couple, this Friday on May 18th, will celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. I stand here as the very proud father of my daughters, Erica and Morgan Eustis. I've had a life with many blessings, none of them greater than the 2 of you. I can't begin to tell you how proud I am of the smart, beautiful, and kind young women that you both become, and I am proud to be your dad. Many of you know that in the summer we always plan a special family vacation, and we've gone to the Grand Canyon, we've driven the California coast. The girls will usually ask me in the winter with excitement, where are we going this summer? What are we planning to do? And I didn't care so much about the destination so much as we went someplace where we had a chance to spend a lot of one-on-one time, and it was special and it was memorable. And so it was that a few years ago I announced to them that that summer our special family trip would be to the Ronald Reagan Library. So I apologize, girls. You should have known then that eventually it would come to something like this. Why am I running for state representative? I have felt for many years that we have drifted from the vision of this country that our forefathers saw. The vision described by John Winthrop as a shining city on the sea. And when I say we've drifted, I don't like using the word because it sounds like we've somehow been pushed by a force, a current beyond our control, when in reality, we've ended up off the shores of where we started by leadership that had a different vision of government than our forefathers. Rather than a country of limited government and unlimited opportunity, we've become a country of government growth and overregulation. And where has that left us in Massachusetts? In the last 20 years, a third of the businesses headquartered in our state have left. They've raced for the border. And many folks believe that they've gone down south or they've gone overseas, where the reality is the great majority of the businesses that have left our great state have gone over the line to Rhode Island and New Hampshire, simply because the political climate was better there. And this is nothing short of an indictment on the leadership that we've had in this state. Like most of you folks, I grew up in this state, other than the time I was fortunate to serve in the U.S. Navy, like my father and my grandfather had before me. I've lived in Massachusetts. I know that we have the best public schools, the best public school teachers in the country. We have the best universities, the best hospitals in the world. We have things that we all love about this state. Massachusetts, from the very beginning, has been first. It's been a leader. In fact, our Constitution, most of the lawyers in the room probably know, was drafted and adopted 7 years before the U.S. Constitution. It was written by Jim Bowdoin, John Adams, and Tim, your favorite, Sam Adams. And it became the model. It became the model of the United States Constitution. That's where we started. That's our history. We're proud of that. And yet, just a few weeks ago, a national survey of CEOs across the country rated Massachusetts 47th in the country in terms of the best place to do business. And that's shameful. And we need to change that. Economic growth has never come from government growth. Economic growth comes when an economy is emancipated and people can use their creativity and their initiative and their work ethic to grow. Anytime this country has had growth, it's had growth from the workers and the business owners of this country, not the government. And when the government gets out of the way, people prosper. And that's the climate that we need to establish again in the great state of Massachusetts. And I think about the people that our government was really created to protect and to care for. Those that struggle in the shadows of our community every day. That's what government is for, and every dollar that's wasted is a dollar taken out of people like that's pocket. And that's why I'm going to run and be a fierce opponent of any waste on Beacon Hill. Any endeavor, any challenge that we undertake takes a lot of help. Anything positive that ever happens to any of us, we only get there with the help of others. All the more so true with something like this. So I thank you in advance for the help that I'm going to be asking all of you for in the months to come. And I know that with your help and your support and God's blessings, wherever we go from here, I've already won. Thank you very much.